Hey, where are you? Oh, hey, you guys haven't been there for too long, right? Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I was trying to figure out where Jeremy's at. I'm sure he'll meander along, maybe a little late, but he'll be here. Anyway, thank you guys for being able to come and check out my 1980s movie choice, the 1985 cult classic, Clue. Reason why I wanted to check this movie out again is because, man, I used to love the board games when I was younger. And the fact that they made a movie out of it, like seriously, they actually tried to make a movie out of it? I don't know. But I had fond memories about it, and I hope that you guys do too. I will tell you the weird thing about this place is they like to show the trailer before the movie, which is beyond you. I mean, who does that? I mean, seriously, who shows the trailer of the movie that we're about to watch literally in the same theater? But, I think the trailer is about to start. So let's just sit back and catch this movie, and hopefully when Jeremy gets here, we'll discuss it.
Every person in this room has the perfect motive.
Stand back!
For murder.
What do you mean? Murder.
But only one of these suspects is the murderer. Is it the timid Mr. Green?
Why are you screaming? Because I'm frightened of what? Screaming!
Or the militant Colonel Mustard?
If I was the killer, I would kill you next.
Huh?
Except F.
Mrs. White, who helped her husband on his way?
Well, it's a matter of life after death. Now that he's dead, I have a life.
Miss Scarlet, who's helped many men along the way?
Practice makes perfect.
Professor Plum, who's looking for a way?
I'm looking.
Mrs. Peacock?
I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here, but I am determined to enjoy myself.
Or did the butler do it?
No.
Paramount Pictures invites you to an evening of mystery,
Let us in! Let us out!
murder,
This is getting quite serious.
and madness. In the movie that makes a scene of the crime, Clue. It's not just a game anymore.
And welcome back to the board game show movie that is Clue. I am your game master, Jeremy, and the other game master, or what item would you want to be on the board? Would you? Are they colors? I don't remember the pieces on the board game. Like, do you remember?
So the pieces in the board, they're little color, like, little sorry things.
That's what it was.
Sorry
Okay.
They had those, and of course they had the weapons and oh no, the weapon. Yeah, they had the weapons. They had the weapons too as well.
Yeah. So
what I would be is the top hat from Monopoly.
Okay.
No, I was always Professor Plum. That was my
Because
gig.
purple is your favorite color, right?
Yeah, purple. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I thought so. I'd probably be green because green's my favorite color and whatnot. No,
Mr. Green.
So we're back to kind of give a chat about discussion about the movie Clue, the 1985.
Yes, the 1985 Clue.
Yeah, and so it was a very interesting movie. But now, since you picked it, I want to hear your thoughts of rewatching this since you haven't seen it in a very long time, and you asked yourself earlier, do I still enjoy this movie than I did when I was younger? So
yeah, no kidding. But before we get too far into it, let me go ahead and give everyone a rundown of this movie. This movie released back on December 13th, 1985. Distributed by Paramount Pictures, of course, like we said, 1985. It budgeted at $15 million, box office at $14.6 million. So it was a box office flop. But it's a 1985 cult classic. And out of the two board game movies that we know of, Clue and Battleship, this one definitely was better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. If you guys want to fight me, go ahead. The runtime of this movie was 2 hours and 96 minutes ago. Or not 2 hours, but 2 months and 96 minutes ago. At least since the last time, when we watched it, we really took our time to watch it. 2 hours, 2 months worth of time to watch it.
We were busy.
But the runtime was actually 96 minutes. So an hour and a half, basic hour and a half plus 6 minutes. Maybe that sweet time, an hour and a half would have been better for me. But hey, I know why they did the extra 6 minutes there. Mm-hmm. For me, this movie, you know what? I actually did enjoy this movie. Not in the same way as I enjoyed it when I was a kid, because I think there was the idea as a kid, kind of like Mario, like when Super Mario Brothers or something like that. That it's a game that I enjoyed. Clue was a game that I loved when I was a kid. So when it was brought to life, it was kind of neat to me. So I had that kind of like mystique to it that I was just like, oh, it's Clue, da 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 da. But as an adult, I do enjoy it for a lot. I would say a lot of different reasons. But it was fun. It was fun for me. How about yourself?
So one of the things that definitely stood out in this movie to me is the cast. I think the cast that they had on there were all great. They all did a great job for what they were portraying as and whatnot. But one thing definitely stand out to me is the fact that this movie feels like it's based on more of a play that got turned into a movie. Just the way it was scripted and how everybody came across. It felt like a play. And not so much a board game. Like if someone told me Clue, this is based on a play, I would believe that more than it's from a board game. But then again, I mean, you make your own story and Clue board game, right? So that's how it works. But the way it's scripted, everybody was just line for line, not really any room to breathe. It just felt like it was a play. And each room that they go into the movie just felt like a different set as they went. But that being said, I didn't quite enjoy this movie that I wanted to. I think the movie went a little bit longer than it should be. Hour and 30 minutes is a sweet spot, but I feel like this movie could have been cut even more. I feel like it was too long for its own good. I got kind of tired halfway. It was just so much you have to pay attention to. They were all over the place, and it kind of wore me out. I felt like this movie could have been better as like a TV movie more than like a full-length movie to me. But with that being said, the cast is still great for what they're doing. But I got bored, and the fact that like they were just doing a little bit too much that wore me out. I think the ending was interesting. It was enough to like, I guess maybe that might be a little bit of payoff for people that watch that movie. But at the same time, I can see people kind of falling off because just so much going on, and it can be a little bit confusing, and the wackiness kind of falls flat a couple of times. But those are some things that for me I was like, I definitely a one-time movie for me so far. So
no, and I can definitely understand where you're coming from too, because when I was watching the movie this time around, I can kind of see what you're saying as far as it kind of felt more like a play to you, because I think it was trying to do something a little different in my opinion. Like, it wasn't quite a murder mystery because it didn't really set up to be a murder mystery, even though you would kind of think it should. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of like the part that I kind of had an interesting conversation with, at least for myself, besides the murder mystery part, was just the kind of comedy that they portrayed, because there wasn't like one style of comedy that they portrayed, because it was not only like slapstick, but it was like dry. It was also one-liners. It was also, at some points it was kind of clever, but very kiddish.
Very goofy.
Yeah, and then there were some parts that were goofy and stuff like that too as well. And, like you talked about the endings. For us, you and I think, which I guess we could have told the audience and everybody too how we watched this movie. I watched this movie on Amazon Prime, so how about yourself?
I did too.
All right, so you and I both watched the same version on Amazon Prime. So in movie theaters, they didn't have, at least from what I was told or what I've read, they didn't have the multiple endings. So it was just one ending, and then the multiple endings came with the movie release.
So are you saying for me and
Like
the listeners
the
that
home
every time
release.
you go see that movie, every time you get a different ending? Is that what the goal was?
No, it was
That would've
just
been cool.
it was just one. Yeah, it would have been cool. It was then you would get a lot of people going back to rewatch that movie again.
Mm-hmm.
For the movie release, whenever they did the like the home movie release, you got the multiple endings where they just played all the endings at the end.
Okay.
But I think in theaters they only had one ending. I don't know which one was the specific ending. I wonder if it was just that first one
Mm-hmm.
where Miss Scarlet was the murderer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of it was, I think for us it was a different experience because we finally got to watch the last few. I do agree. It was for me, I understand where you would get bored because the pace of the movie. I think the pace of the movie was trying to be that murder mystery, even though that murder mystery wasn't really a murder mystery, nor was it something that was it wasn't like us watching what's that one that just came out?
Knives Out?
Knives Out. It wasn't like Knives Out or some sort of mystery where we're really super enthralled into that experience. We were just kind of like, oh, it's a comedy. So, how much do we really think it's so, but I think you did hit it on the spot where I think the actors and the dialogue amongst the actors and stuff like that were probably the parts that really carried this movie, especially Tim Curry himself
Mm-hmm.
as Wadsworth the Butler.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really carried the movie, and I think that was kind of one of the things that they had with it. I felt like it could have just easily been just one of those improv shows where they just had all the actors improv and just kind of see what they can come up with, instead of necessarily having the actual scripted out parts. Though I will say, I did enjoy the fact how they portrayed the different things from the board game into this movie. Like how they got all the characters and the aliases, using aliases, which makes a lot of sense. How they were able to bring in the weapons, which was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Though, a lot of the weapons are a lot better than a pot-lit in Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Next, of course, like the secret passageways that were in the movie. That's basically exactly what it is in the board game. So I think they did a really good job of bringing the elements from the board game into it. So they did. To me, they stayed fairly true to life for the source material, for the mini source material that had very broad source material.
I really like the house a lot, actually. Like, the house was cool. I'm glad that they made the house a character in some sort of way. Like, they hopped around everywhere with the secret passage, and you could definitely tell that they needed to stretch the second act the most compared to the first act and the third act. That's why you had them all split up, all have these moments here and there. The random guests that come through, the cop, the singing telegram woman, and another. I forgot who the first stranger was supposed to be. I
think it was just randomly. I think his card just randomly broke down.
So you had these people try to fill in that until we got to the meat of the third act per se. But I did, like I said, I like the house, and I like that there were clues everywhere. But I feel like that the actors were doing so well that they really focused on them bantering more than like, what are we doing out here though? Like you know what I mean? Like you said, like it's not really a murder mystery. It's more like, let's get all these people together and just have a really good conversation with everything. I think one other thing that stood out to me definitely was the fact that how interesting how the weapons got implemented into every situation, from how the gun got used, how the pipe got used, how the rope got used in some sort of way. It was I like the way they pulled that off, but there is some questions that I'll probably never know, because they would say like they had all this, like especially the butler was trying to tell you what all happened as they go back and forth, and they're replaying the situation and everything like that, and they're telling you that someone wasn't here at this moment, and then I'm trying to go back and watch that movie from the beginning again because I watched it twice, per se. It's 1.5. I was kind of dipping out in the second run, but
Yeah.
just the fact of going back and say like, okay, you said that they weren't here on this part, and I'm like, but I see them here, so it got a little confusing for what they're saying. You know, it almost felt like that if you watch this movie the first time, you would believe what the butler says because you weren't really paying attention at the beginning, so you just take on whatever he said. It kind of feels weird, and so
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I don't know. I felt like that, you know, it did fall apart kind of a little bit halfway through, but you know, this movie did a good attempts to me for what they're doing. I mean, what they did. I think that the unbelievable fact that it took 45 minutes for the cops to come, because it felt like it would take longer. The way they set this movie, like.
And the way they ended the movie, though, the 45 minutes wouldn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, I think they were just on standby. They were there the whole time, just for whoever. Well, whether it's Wadsworth or what's his name?
Not Colonel Mustard.
No, Mr. Green, I think. No, is it Green?
No, Mr.
Yeah, it was Mr. Green.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was either Wadsworth or Mr. Green, because
Okay.
Mr. Green was the at the very end was like the FBI guy.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is interesting. All right, so this throws me off the most, which is kind of funny because I was like, maybe it's just me getting old, my memory. Maybe it was because of my health condition. But I was watching the movie and it was throwing me off that Professor Plum wasn't in purple, Colonel Mustard wasn't in yellow,
Yeah.
and Miss Scarlet wasn't in like scarlet. Because I'm sitting there looking at them in their color clothing, and I'm just like, who the hell was that again?
Mm-hmm.
And you know. And I think that threw me off a lot. You know what was interesting though, because I did actually kind of wanted to go into this with you just for kicks and giggles. Because there's two things I do want to say. That one, I want you to remember though for a fact. There's at some point down the line, I know we're doing video for this one. This is kind of our first video and a little bit of a tryout for us too, just to show, you know, you're a good mug and my ugly mug on TV.
I got a beautiful face.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying Jeremy's beautiful face and my ugly mug on screen. But you know, we talked about doing like parts where we're in the movie, where we record where we film ourselves in the movie and just doing lines in the movie with everyone. And when I was watching this, I was thinking, all right, so I need Jeremy to remember this because I might not.
Okay.
So you and I get to be in this movie in the mansion with everyone else. I don't know what we are. I mean, you're probably Mr. Pink, and
Why am I Mr. Pink?
Mr. Pink, and I'm probably Mr. Blue or Mr. White or something like that.
Okay.
Or Mr. Black, probably.
Are you talking to me? Because I'm the Green Falcon.
Black, probably because of the Power Rangers. The
Sure.
Asian one's always
Sure,
black.
roll with that. Yeah, roll with
We'll
that.
just roll with it.
But I won't
But
be
the
wearing
part
black.
But the part where I don't know if it's necessarily a white people thing, but I think this is a white people thing, where they're just like, let's split up. And
I suggest we handle this in proper military fashion. We split up and search the house.
and you're just like, why? Like, I think you and I would have a conversation and be like, why are we splitting up?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
you know, what Colonel Mustard does a good job of explaining, you know, in the military, we split up to just divide and we conquer. But the problem with the idea of splitting up in any other scary movie or something, especially in this situation, is that if you assume one of the members is a murderer, then splitting up isn't exactly the best idea, because when you do the divide and conquer thing, that's assuming that everybody's on the same team, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that you and I can have a fun conversation and put ourselves in the movie where we're just like, why is it that they put the black and the Asian dude together? It's like as if we Rush Hour or something like
Right.
that. Or,
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If that did happen, do you think we would walk around the house, or do you think we stay put?
I'm going to stay by that front door because, man, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save me that singing telegram girl whom also played Joan of Arc in Bill and Ted's.
I didn't know
Bill
that.
and Ted movie. But the other thing too is I wanted to throw out there is, like, if we were to remake this movie today, which I think we could,
Mm-hmm.
besides the director from Knives Out, would this not be a movie that you can probably throw Quentin Tarantino in as a director?
Yeah, if you want it to be serious and quirky. Like,
well, because he has that kind of like serious, kind of funny humor in a weird way. I think he could. I think he can do it. I think he's proven it with, especially just like dialogue.
I was gonna say Hateful Eight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially with dialogue conversations, I think he could prove it with Hateful Eight. That he's proved it with Hateful Eight. A few things, I think between the two directors, who is the director of Knives Out? I forgot.
That would be Rian Johnson.
Yes, it also did the movie Brick, which is a wonderful movie too as well. One of the movies I'll probably select later on in my future, hopefully. But what's interesting, we can cast whatever we want to do. Cast here for the future of these, or if they did a remake of this movie. But Wadsworth was Tim Curry, which it's hard to see someone else besides Tim Curry do this, but Rowan Atkinson and also John Cleese were up for this role too as well.
Okay.
Rowan Atkinson, if you guys don't know, is Bean from like the British show Bean.
Mm-hmm.
And
then,
Mr. Bean. Of course, John Cleese. Yeah, Mr. Bean. Yeah.
If you're a 007 fan, he did Johnny English.
He did Johnny English, and he was also in Rat Race as well.
Yes.
Hilarious guy, very smart, very funny. I think his physical comedy does kind of fit. The next, of course, John Cleese. If you guys don't know the Monty Pythons,
they fit well with that too.
Yeah, I think he fits well. The next, Colin Camp beat out Madonna, Demi Moore, and Jennifer Jason Leigh to play Yvette, the maid.
Okay.
So that would have been interesting to see either Madonna or Demi Moore.
It's funny.
Either of those two.
The maid herself doesn't really stand out. So is that the point where anybody would have been fine to me?
Yeah. So, yeah, I can see that too. And I think Colin Camp did a good job of playing the maid. I think everyone did. Mm-hmm. And you talked about the house. The house is Hill House, which is a reference to like the novel The Haunting of Hill House and stuff like that. So that was pretty interesting too. I agree. I enjoyed the fact that it was a very much a character in its own to the movie.
Yeah.
Well, this movie, besides that, I actually kind of agree with you. I definitely think this movie is a product of the 80s because, I don't think it really suits well in this generation of movies, nor does it suit well in the 90s or which actually, in the 90s, I thought it was a 90s movie, so I was kind of surprised that it was an 80s movie. Mm-hmm. But, past 90s, I don't really think this movie fits into it because it was kind of interesting where they were talking the homophobia in the movie with why does it matter that Mr. Green is gay?
I work for the State Department, and I'm a homosexual.
Gay?
I feel...
to you and me, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, now, of course. But I think it was, the product of the time. It was the age.
Yeah. I was gonna say back in the time, which is why I say it's a product of that time. Because if he were to come out and said he was gay, it would be like, okay, who cares? I think it's, of course, the political thing is like, oh, they're socialist and stuff like that.
She had friends who were socialists. Oh my God.
Socialist and stuff like that. That seems kind of like common now age.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the reference for J. Edgar Hoover, then this would be it'd be a different story.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so if you were to actually recast this with with a comedic cast currently in this generation, who would you throw in there? I mean, you don't have to be specific on like what character they would be, but who would you just throw in there just for kicks and giggles?
Jim Carrey as the butler.
See, that was one of my thoughts too, is having Jim Carrey and even Steve Carell in this movie too as well.
Jack Nicholson as Colonel Mustard.
Jack Nicholson would be interesting. See, I was thinking Steve Carell as either Mr. Green or Colonel Mustard, one of the two, because
go ahead.
of how. Because I was gonna say, if you guys hadn't seen the Netflix series Space Force, how how Steve Carell plays like a colonel or the lead of that branch is kind of interesting and funny and definitely different than what I would have expected. So I can kind of see that. But go ahead.
But no, that's a good pick too. I was gonna say, or Steve Carell does Mr. Plum. I mean, Professor Plum. That'd be interesting to see. For the ladies, though, you know, it's tough to say now, but for some reason, I can get behind maybe what's her name from Mary Poppins and whatnot. I can't believe I forgot her name. Or Devil Wear Prada. I'm so mad at myself because she's like such a beautiful actress. Crap.
Yeah. See, I think of Anne Hathaway, but I don't think that's
no. She's married to John. What's his name from The Office?
John Krasinski or whatever.
His wife from A Quiet Place. Gosh, that's gonna annoy me.
Yeah, that's gonna bother me because I think of Blake Lively immediately, but that's Ryan Reynolds, and I was actually gonna throw Ryan Reynolds in that
Ryan
cast.
Reynolds is who though?
Oh, you know, I think Ryan Reynolds could probably play either Wadsworth or I could also see him doing Professor Plum or something like that too as well.
Mm-hmm. It would be Emily Blunt. That's who I wanted. Like
Emily Blunt. That's right.
I can see Emily Blunt playing a part in this.
You know, I would Miss Peacock. Miss Peacock, I think, is Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig. Okay.
Yeah, I think Kristen Wiig could do it. Then, of course, I think it would just be fun to have. You know, if you do Jenny McCarthy, and is it Jenny? It's not Jenny McCarthy. She's with Sandra Bullock in a lot of movies too. I can't think of it.
Jenny McCarthy.
Is it Jenny McCarthy or Sarah McCarthy or something? It's something.
It was either Jenny or Amy or something like that.
Hold on, I'm gonna have to look this up now. It's Heat. Because I think she could play, even though the person that didn't have very much of a
Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy.
It's Melissa.
Even though she didn't have a big part, I think she could play the kitchen.
You know, it's funny you say that because like from Gilmore Girls, she was a cook on that show, so this would fit perfectly on here too.
Yeah, so she could play the cook and just get a little bit more moments of shine next to Maya Rudolph and stuff like that too.
Now
as well.
I don't know what the name of the black actor from The Office. But he could play the cop.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either.
Yeah,
he's hilarious.
Or Craig Robinson.
Yeah,
one or the
other. Craig Robinson.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, that could work.
I think they can have a lot of fun with it. You know, somehow push Kevin Hart into the movie too as well.
He'd be the Telegram guy.
Telegram guy. Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Just somehow throw him into the movie. I think they could have a lot of fun recasting this movie into something that's kind of, and it doesn't even have to fit the mold of the characters that are actually portrayed in the movie. You know, like their own special reset. Because I think that would be kind of fun too as well.
I would enjoy that, especially like the butler is really the most leading. It's basically the leading star of this movie. So like that's why I think Jim Carrey could do it because I think he just has that wackiness that can go with it to me. So
yeah, Andy Garcia is Mr. Body. I don't know why.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? We'll just throw it out there.
So, is there anything else about this movie that
we want to put it? I think we kind of nailed most of the things that kind of came off the top of our heads. You know, I don't think there was much about this movie that we can go really deep on. Other than, I do agree with you. I don't think this movie was made to be all that. It had a murder mystery-ish feel to it, but it wasn't made to be taken seriously, nor do I think that, kind of like what you said, what Tim Curry had to say, what Wadsworth had to say at the end of the movie made any sense as far as who was where and why.
So let me ask you this question here. So all the actors in this movie did a great job. Who do you think was the least star of this movie? Like you thought, I wish you did a little bit more per se.
Oh, that you wanted to see more of?
Yeah, basically.
I mean, besides wanting to see more of Yvette, just because, swing.
Yeah. I would
Um,
partner up with her that whole time. If the split up happens, yeah.
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 You know what? I kind of had a thing for Miss Scarlet though during the entire movie. I don't know, something about
No, Miss Scarlet's cute.
yeah, Miss Scarlet was looking pretty good to me too as
Mhm.
well. I would have been interested in seeing a little bit more of Miss White.
Okay.
Because I think she was I don't she kind of played her part as a cold character, but like I kind of wanted to see more bitch out of her.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More ruthlessness out of there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I
Yeah,
agree with
like,
that.
I felt that she was kind of, there like someone who I wanted to go quickly,
Mhm.
which I wish was gone quickly, was probably Miss Peacock. And I think she just did a good job of portraying somebody I was annoyed at. Because, whenever Mr. Green like totally pimp slapped her, I rolled.
Oh
I thought
yeah,
that was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hilarious. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But I think Miss White was somebody that I wish I could have seen more of. Of course, Yvette, just cause, and the singing telegram girl, just cause too as well. I am your singing telegram. There you go.
So random. So yeah.
It
I
was
think
random.
not Professor Plum, but the guy that they killed at the very beginning. The guy that was the blackmailed.
Oh,
He
Mr.
looks like
Bobby.
he looks like a young Mr. Robert De Niro.
That was the other person I was going to think of too, besides Andy Garcia.
Yeah. I wish I saw a little bit more of him before they killed him off.
Yeah. Yeah, because
So,
he was just kind of a plot point, right?
yeah. Yeah. So.
I can definitely agree with you there too. And I think I wish that there was an actual like mystery to be had,
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
Because I think at the very beginning of the movie, I think much like probably how you felt too, I wasn't quite sure what the plot of the movie was all about.
Yeah, because
Like
I'm sorry.
it didn't make sense.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. It's like, so if Mr. Body brought everyone into the house and Wadsworth too as well, why lock the door? Why do all this stuff? It made no sense to me. It made better sense later on, but it just wasn't there immediately. So that's where I was just like, okay, this movie definitely wasn't a movie that you should really take seriously as far as just thinking wise is concerned. So there you go.
I was green on top of that, and just the fact it took too long to get the story going.
Yeah.
Like it took too long to get everybody there. It took too long during the dinner time. It took too long to get the first death and get this going. It was a good 30 minutes before like, okay, now stuff is starting to go. And if you cut that off, then it'd be about an hour movie.
Yeah. And if you were to get the story going with an actual mystery that people are going to try to sit there and try to solve, I think you would have got people to buy into the movie a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Versus just watching the movie just for the sake of watching the movie,
Yeah.
So, I agree with you there.
Yeah. So, do you, in your head when you were younger to now, did you have your own imagination of how you thought the movie should have ended?
No, you know what? Not really, because I didn't really have to think. I mean, based on you talking about based on what we watched and then how the movie.
Yeah, I don't know if when you were younger you're watching it and you just had your own theory of like, this could have ended better like this.
No, actually, I didn't. Just because when I first watched it, it had the multiple endings, so I never watched the theater version where it only had the one ending.
Okay.
So for me, I never really thought of another ending, just because, like I said, I didn't really feel like there was a mystery to be had for me to think of an ending.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I were to do it now, like, I would like to see a Knives Out kind of like approach to this movie as well. Most definitely, where you really had to try to think of nothing too crazy as far as swerves or anything like that, where you get the spoiler at the end. Or for most people who hadn't seen the movie yet, I'm not going to tell you, but where it's not as complicated, or I wouldn't say complicated, but they try to swerve you so much to get to a person who murdered everything.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wanted some of the cast to get killed off to kind of spice it up a little bit.
See, that would be interesting. I get I definitely get that. The only thing is that, in the board games you don't lose people and you don't lose the cast. So I get that.
Except the butler, because the butler's not a character to play on the game, right?
Yeah, Butler's new. Butler's new.
So that could have been a kind of a twist or something like that, or even the maids or something. Or hell, you could have made up. Honestly, to tell you the truth, they could have made up a character that was not part of the game.
Yeah,
but was. And it's kind of something with that.
Yeah, and I think that's where Wadsworth, Mr. Body, and all that stuff. They did a good job of doing that. I didn't mind the story that much as those guys are the ones that are blackmailing everyone, and then it becomes a supposed murder mystery. But it wasn't intriguing enough for me to care. So, with you, I do agree with that. I can see that too as well.
Okay. No. Well, that's
so
it.
off to our awards.
Yes. So, would you like to start first, sir?
Yes, so my award goes to the decision on what we call the best ending in the movie. It's called the What the Hell Was That Award? Mm-hmm. Just because I just came up with that name.
5 minutes just now. I just did that. Yeah.
But in this movie, there was actually 4 endings, 3 that we saw. One that I would just say they recorded, but they never showed. Mm-hmm. Which I don't, I'm kind of curious in seeing that. But the first ending of the movie is where Miss Scarlet is the villain. She's the one that killed off people at the end of the movie just to blackmail everyone. The second nominee is Miss Peacock as the murderer. The third one is when Mr. Green is the FBI agent or works for Mr. Hoover. And the fourth ending is actually where, and they had it in the books, the 2 books that they released for the movie, for the board game to try to promote the movie, because Paramount had a lot of they thought this movie was going to do a lot better than it did in theaters, which it didn't. Mm-hmm. Sounds like another movie choice that I had too. What was that, Dick Tracy? Yeah. Where Wadsworth was the one that actually killed everybody. Okay. And because the last ending where Mr. Green was the FBI, like everybody killed everybody. And then Mr. Green was like the only one that didn't kill anybody. But Wadsworth was the one that killed everybody in the movie, which in a sense, I think if we both looked at it now, it wouldn't make any sense, because if Wadsworth was the one that actually blackmailed everyone, then he just killed everyone and lost all his money. So it makes no sense. Mm-hmm. But out of those 4 endings, Jeremy, which one did you like?
The third one, where everybody got a piece of the pie.
And Mr. Green was from. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought so too. I think that one makes a little bit more sense, where everyone killed somebody because they felt that the extra special guest that decides to show up into the movie were like, people that were helping the blackmailers blackmail them. So I agree with you too. I think that one made more sense to me. I also liked that one probably the most out of all of them, because it was interesting to see Wadsworth just take a bullet to the chest.
Right. And has like one of the best death scenes.
Yeah, he just looks back and he's like, ugh.
Yeah. It almost feels like even like I swear like him as the actor, him playing a dead person, never gonna feel like that he's really dead. It's like he's faking it. Just the way his face is, it's like you're faking it.
If they ever did a Zombieland 3, and instead of having the Bill Murray cameo, have the Tim Curry cameo in there, mm-hmm. I would be curious to see how they would kill off Tim Curry. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would be kind of fun too as well.
Okay, my award is called well, that happened. Or no, it was where the hell did that come from? That's what it is. Yeah, where the hell did that come from? Most random moments in the movie, and this movie had a lot of fun random moments in there. One of them for me was finding out what Miss White is. She's like a nuclear scientist, and it's like the hell.
Right. What did he do for a living? He was a scientist, nuclear physics.
Right.
I'm trying to see here. The maid that knew how to use a gun shot the door open to free Miss Scarlet and Colonel Mustard.
Okay.
That came out of nowhere. I'm trying to see here what I wrote. Oh, the singing telegram person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Mr. Green falling on that table once they sat back into the room. He just was sitting on that back table. He just fell.
Yeah.
It was like
It's a slapstick comedy that we're talking about,
what?
right? It's like, what the hell was that?
And then the random kissing scenes when the cop wanted to explore every room to see what's going on. So everybody was just making out in every room.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Is there any you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add not really. I think you nailed two of them. The singing telegram girl death was definitely one of them that I had written down. Also, the dead people, the dance, whatever, the socialization part to hide the fact that they're dead, which is the makeout scene that you're talking about.
Okay.
With all the dead people, like that threw me off out of nowhere. Even though this was kind of foreshadowed a little bit, but that chandelier falling behind Colonel Mustard, like
both times.
Yeah, it's just like, why? It's like that wasn't even funny to me, but it was just like, okay.
So honestly, out of all the picks that I have, I would say the singing telegram is up there because like there was no needed to be in there. It was just there just for S and G, right? It's just shits and giggles. But if I honestly personally had to pick one, I think it had to be for me. It's so stupid, but Mr. Green fall off that table because it's like that was just so unnecessary, if anything. Because at least the singing telegram made a little sense in a sort of way. It's dark. Everybody was just doing random things. That random just for giggles. But everybody come in that room for a serious moment. And Mr. Green thought that was a good idea to go back there and sit. And I was like, what? What? There's plenty of room to sit.
The more I think about that, Mr. Green needs to be Jim Carrey there because I think Jim Carrey could pull that part off like no other. I can see that, the singing telegram girl one was just kind of like, all right, so this girl just straight up started singing when they opened the door and it was just pitch black in front of her. She was just like, there's nothing in front of me, but I'm going to just go ahead and do it, just because. And then she gets shot and you're just like, okay.
It's the mystery I would have loved to learn about it. It would have been funny if she was part of a joke where like they saw her at the beginning doing something while they're driving by or something like that. But it's more interesting, like, how long did it take you to go from house to house? Because there was no other house nearby this house. So, like, what did you go this route to come over here?
If they bring it in now, she'd be singing the WAP song or something like that, then get shot.
Oh, God.
I tell you what, though, it would have been interesting if they would have did if it was a mime instead of the singing telegram girl.
Yeah.
The mime thinking that it's a wall, then of course they're making the joke. It's like, well, that wall didn't really help him, did
it? Yeah.
But the singing telegram girl, I think part to me was kind of like a random part. It wasn't like the surprise random, like you said with the Mr. Green, because I think that was kind of one of the surprise randoms. Mm-hmm. The singing telegram girl, they kind of played to it where they just opened the door and you're just like, okay, but like that felt like a scene out of like Family Guy to me. Okay. So I'm gonna go. For me, I'm going to go with the singing telegram.
Okay.
Because Jeremy, I would have went back. I would have went back for her.
I would have went back for her. Yeah, she was cute. She was cute.
Yeah. Yeah, she was.
I chat with her with the lights on.
There you go.
All right. Are we ready to get to the rotten part of the show?
Yeah, so, we're going to do Rotten Tomatoes. I'm sure we're going to find something different that we'll evolve to later on. But Rotten Tomatoes is one of those things that everyone talks about all the time, where they do an audience score and also they do a tomato meter, one for the audience and also one for the critics. Where Jeremy and I get to see whether we lean more towards the critics or we're just like the audience as well. So for Clue, the 1985 movie, the tomato meter for the critics was at a 65% with 31 reviews. Quote unquote critics, and 86% from the audience out of 94,380 reviews. Jeremy, where and why do you land on? Which score do you land on and why?
I'm going to tell you this: that 86% is for the people that watch that movie once and they enjoy for what it is, but not replay value. I'm a 65 with the critics because it overall, if you stay for this movie, you stay because the actors did a great job doing it. But to me, it still wasn't enough. The movie's still kind of boring. It drags out a little bit too long. It could have been tighter in 1 hour, but that is definitely not movie theater quality. It has to be longer than an hour per se. Like, I think the least like hour 15 per se. But this should have been a lot shorter, a lot more compact, and more straight to the point of what's going on. I mean, you didn't really. Yes, we learned about these characters, but that could have still been shorter. And even through this whole movie, you only still learn a little bit about them, only through the blackmail. You don't really know all these characters' real background or what have they done in their lives and all that stuff. I'm a 65 with the critics. This is definitely a one-time movie for me. So
I get you there. For me too, as well. I'm going to go with the critics. I think this might actually surprise Jeremy. I'm going to go with the critics 65 too, as well. Mostly because I enjoyed the movie, but I mean, 86 is pretty high up there. You know, I enjoyed the movie. If you were to watch it now, would it be one of those movies I want to go see in the movie theater? Not quite so much. I think kind of like what Jeremy had to say, and what I think now, it would be kind of like a Netflix movie, like a made for Netflix movie. Something that you might watch, kind of like the Ridiculous Six and stuff like that you watch. Even though I think this movie is better than the Ridiculous Six, I don't know whether you feel
now
that
that
way.
you say that, I can see the whole Happy Madison family doing a Clue. Adam Sandler directing this. I can see that too.
Yeah, that was one of the things I see too. So I'm going to go with 65% with the critics on this too, as well. As much as I enjoyed the characters in the movie, 65 isn't a bad movie, but it's not a great movie. It's a good movie. I enjoyed the movie. I can see why it has a cult classic to it. But I think the movie left me wanting more of a mystery, or more of something that actually hooked the line and sunk me to get that 86 score. So I'm going to go with 65 here.
Okay. So before we wrap up the show, I do want to say this is actually our third movie we picked with Christopher Lloyd in it.
I know, right?
It's crazy.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah,
He, like I think I said back in our
Roger Rabbit
one, yeah. He definitely gets our childhood. Like, to me, he gets like the childhood award for me, because I think he actually, is this the third movie or is this the fourth?
So Roger Rabbit, Addams Family, and then this movie. I can't think of anything else. Or
because we had
Back to the Future. We haven't picked that one yet.
Yeah, and that one will be in our categories of conversation at some point down the line.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think as a childhood actor, Christopher Lloyd, because I also love Taxi too as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was definitely up there for me. I mean, lately, obviously you really hadn't seen him as much stuff lately, but he was definitely there for me during my childhood. So.
Yep. So just a heads up, you are watching the video, but this is only the second half of it. If you want to hear the first half, you're going to have to go listen to the audio episode, which we'll try to have it on YouTube to help you out. But other than that, this is only the second part you will see. But in the next episode, you'll get the full package, for everything like that. But with that, thank you so much for listening to When Jeremy Met Nam and do a movie podcast. We are part of the In-Game Boss program, Network Game and other variety shows. And as you are watching us on YouTube, you can watch all our other great content on this page. And let alone in the description, you can listen to all the listening sites that we have that you can think of, Apple Podcasts and whatnot. Please leave a comment down below and tell us what your thoughts about Clue. Did you like Clue? Are you 65? Are you an 86? I think, 86. So, who stole the movie for you? Do you think this movie should have been shorter? Maybe a longer? You let me know. And with that, I want to thank everybody for listening to this, and we will catch you on our next movie pick.